So we're going to talk about minimums today. You guys, if you've listened to the podcast any length of time, you know that I'm not a real big fan of minimums because minimum means minimum work, minimum labor, minimum results. But hey, there's a whole bunch of food trucks that want that minimum. They want that guarantee rather than stretching themselves and making way better decisions to make more money. So let's talk about minimums and what they do to your business. Welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach, author of 5 food truck vending books, including Food Truck 101 and Food Truck 201. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. Today's podcast is sponsored by Table Needs. And if you're looking for a game changer for your food truck business, look no further than Table Needs. It is the ultimate package, a killer point of sale system, QR code menu ordering, KDS, and automated sales tax. Plus, they offer business services like marketing and bookkeeping. They're not only just another vendor, they're a business partner. Check them out at tableneeds.com or find them on Facebook. A minimum. This is a guarantee. Somebody will have a contract and they'll be invited to go someplace, to a business, to an event, somewhere to set up. And they'll say, well, I have a minimum. You've got to pay me a guaranteed $600. And if I don't hit that $600 in sales, then you owe me the difference. Well, there's all kind of problem with that. Number one is, why should I trust you? You could be swarmed over to $2,000 and to lie to me and say, yep, I only did $300. So now you got to share your sales with somebody to be able to prove it. And if you really think that somebody should believe you, go ask a question about taxes and cash and see how many vendors will openly tell you they charge differently when they're being paid cash because they don't have to report it. They don't have to do the taxes on it. They love cash. So why should somebody trust you when you say, I need a minimum? Okay, so that's only one strike against it. What a minimum does is it admits that you have no following. It admits that you are taking a job and don't care whether you advertise it or not because, hey, I've got a minimum. You got to pay me. Does that make any sense to you as a business owner? You're going to go set up on somebody's property for free and you're going to say, hey, dude, I want a minimum. I want to guarantee that my time is worth it. You don't have to advertise. You don't have to even give good food or good service because you got a guarantee. So let me ask you, if somebody is gullible enough to give you a guarantee and you don't give good service, do you deserve the guarantee? Let's say that something goes wrong within your food truck and you're not able to produce all your menu because, I don't know, maybe you ran out of propane. Should that other business be obligated to give you the minimum because they were dumb enough to sign a contract? Let's say that because you don't really understand how to operate a food business, you make a whole bunch of people sick. Should that other business be obligated to give you a minimum? Now you're going, but those are extremes. It never happens. It does happen. As soon as you have a guarantee, as soon as you have that safety net underneath you, you do not care about your business. You're not going to make sure that you do everything you possibly can to advertise and get people coming to you because you don't care. You got a minimum. I'm covered. Don't need to worry about it. Now, here's a question for you. I want you to think about it long and hard. Don't just get bowed up about, I got to have a minimum. It's only fair. Is there any other business in the world that you know of that has a guarantee? You're not a celebrity. You don't have a following because if you had a following, you wouldn't be asking for a minimum. It's really a conundrum, isn't it? Why would I, as a business owner that wants to offer an opportunity to a food truck to come set up in front of my business and make some money, why would I want one that will ask for a minimum? Because that tells me you have no following. And if you have no following, why do I want you on my property? For all I know, you're chasing people away by sitting out there because your reputation is preceding you. You either bring people or you don't. When you ask for a minimum, you're admitting, I cannot bring people. I have no recourse but to charge you a minimum because I have no following. I cannot stress that enough. That's all that means. Now, the business or the event that's being set up, if they are unknown to you, that should be an automatic no. If somebody says, hey, I'm doing a car show next week. Yeah, I expect 1,000 people. You got some questions you're going to ask that person. Number one, what's your marketing budget for this car show that will prove to me you're going to actually have 1,000 people show up? If they have no marketing budget, there's not going to be 1,000 people show up. What's your social media reach? What's the social media site that I can go to see information about your car show? If they don't have a social media site, there's not going to be anybody there. If they have a social media site and it only has 2 or 3 likes, there's not going to be anybody there. That's you being a smart business person and saying, no, I'm sorry. Maybe next year when you have a bigger following, I'll consider it, but not this year. I'm not going to be the guinea pig. It's up to you to be able to look at a situation or an opportunity and go, that's an opportunity for me, or that's not really good enough, so I'm going to pass. You're allowed to say no. Now, I do know some food truck owners that are afraid to say no. So what they do is they say, well, I've got to have a $2,000 minimum. Can you guarantee that? Knowing that they're not going to get that guarantee, so they don't have to say no. The other dude has to say, I can't afford that. You got to understand a minimum says more about you as a business than your own reputation, your own social media. Because if you can't generate guests wherever you set up, I'm sorry. You're not a viable business. And I don't want to hear the excuse, but I'm going out of town. I'm going 2 hours away. Why? I didn't hear any answers. Why? Why are you choosing to go out of your location 2 hours, half hour, 45 minutes? Doesn't matter. Can you not set up and draw your own guests? That's the question. If you cannot draw your own guests, you are lacking in marketing, you are lacking in social media, and the public is telling you there's a problem with your food truck. Fix it. All a minimum does is put a Band-Aid on what's wrong. Now, eventually the economy is going to catch up, and all these businesses that are spending willy-nilly are not going to spend willy-nilly because they'll be able to get known food trucks with a real following that will do it without saying, hey, I need a minimum because, I don't know how to run a business. I guarantee you that the Wendy's truck doesn't charge a minimum. Wendy's will be thrilled to go set up. And because it's a known national brand, they're going to be busy. Chick-fil-A has trucks. They're working on a fleet of trucks. Waffle House has trucks. They also have reputations. And they also don't ask for minimums. We already do so many things because we're small-minded in how we operate our business. We make bad choices because we don't understand how to operate a business. And then because somebody else says, well, hey, I get a minimum, we think that's an awesome idea. I will ask for one too. I've done so many posts on this. I've done so many podcasts on it. People don't pay attention because all they're caring about is the bottom line. Sometimes you got to think about, what does this bottom line do to me? So I want you to put yourself in the position of being, let's say, a brewery owner. Brewery owner wants a food truck for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's food. That means people can drink more. Number two, the idea would be that the food truck brings in new clients to that brewery and be able to expose the brewery to new people. Likewise, the food truck has an opportunity to have their food exposed to new people from the brewery. That's a win-win. Both sides get to win. If the brewery makes a bad decision and picks a food truck that has a poor reputation, they're gambling. They have to do research. Is this food truck popular? Does it have a following? Is it worth me extending an offer to have them come set up on my property? Because they're gambling too. They're gambling that you have a good reputation. They're gambling that you are good enough at service that they won't get complaints about that food truck that's on the parking lot. I've been waiting an hour. Ain't got no food. No one ever thinks about that. No one ever puts that clause in there. I need a minimum. Here's my contract. How many complaints does it take before you don't deserve a minimum? 1 complaint? 5 complaints? How many? How about just generally slow service? Who's going to monitor that service? Who is going to follow up on those guests to see, hey, do you even like the food truck that's out there? It's not just as easy as getting a minimum because that is basically panhandling. Hey, I need a minimum, $600. I didn't do 600 in sales. I need the difference. Here's my 10 cup. Fill it up. I want you guys to run a business. I want you guys to understand that everything that other people do may not be best practices and may not actually work where you are. One thing I've learned about our Facebook group and just Facebook groups in general, people are the star of their own show. And they will tell you a one-time, one-off situation as being their practice all the time. Somebody says, I did $40,000. Do it every weekend. No, they did it once, maybe. What you do one time is not your average, but that will be the average they'll talk about because it's an impressive number. Minimums hurt your business. One last thing about minimums. If you don't have a following that when you post on social media, I'm going to be open tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Come down and see me. And you don't have people that come down to see you. Food trucks, when they see that happening, go, oh, well, I've got to go somewhere else. And they go to a new city where they're the new kid on the block. Hey, new food truck in town. Come check us out. People that are food truck patrons that love food trucks, they look at an event and the event list of who's going to be showing up. And they will go, don't like that food. No, I don't like their service. And they don't go. Whose fault would that be? Is it the event? Well, yeah, it is kind of the event's fault because they picked trucks that didn't have a reputation, that didn't have a good reputation. but it's really the bottom line. It's the food truck owner's problem. I can't draw a crowd, so I need a minimum. I can't draw a crowd, and that's reflected in the crowds that come to events where I participate. They're small because I can't bring anybody in. There's a food truck in our area that has exhausted all of our residents' patience. Food's awful, service is awful, but the guy's tenacious. He isn't closing. He just goes to another city. And eventually he'll burn out all those guests down there, bad food, bad service. And he'll just go to another city, and he'll keep doing that until his radius of driving is too far for his business. If you cannot generate sales within your own neighborhood, you need to look in a mirror and figure out what the problem is. I can guarantee you it's not because you need a minimum. Thank you so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding all the information helpful to your food truck business, please become a monthly supporter of the podcast. Just hit the support button or follow the link in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. Join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We have a whole bunch of awesome members at all different levels, from brand new beginners to decades-old veterans. They've all got your back when it comes to helping you with your food truck. And again, thank you for listening. Come back tomorrow because I got plenty more to say when it comes to helping you and your food truck business grow.